All right, we are here in Richardson, Texas with Noel Rojas at his facility here in Richardson. And we're going to have some of his cigars, talk to him. Can't wait.
Thanks for tuning into the 2020 season of Cigars, Liquor, and More. As we join our buddies Bill
Howdy.
and our other brother Daryl
Smoke up, Johnny.
in the Backyard Speakeasy as they discover their thoughts on cigars, liquor, and anything else that comes to mind.
All right. We're here. We're ready.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. I really appreciate when people from the industry that have a passion for cigars like you guys come out and, give a shot to new upcomers on the industry and talk about cigars.
Well, you make some fabulous cigars. We absolutely love them. We are fans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't hurt that you're right in our backyard. So we have them available. A lot of times you hear cigars, they come out, and then they're nowhere near you because cigars are so regional and shops are so regional. But we're lucky because you're right here. They're in almost all of our shops. Readily available. It's where we first started getting them. It was at our home shop in Fuego Murphy. So we're like, oh my God, he's right here. We've got to go talk to this man. Love the story too. I mean, real hard work coming up to make what your dream happen. And I love that. So you want to recap it or what?
So correct me if I'm wrong in any of this. Born in Cuba.
That's correct.
Went to school in Cuba. In school when you were a kid, you also worked in the tobacco fields.
Exactly, yeah.
Kind of a work program.
Exactly.
During school. Came to the States somewhere around 13 years ago?
No, yes, 13 years ago, yeah. Yes.
And for a bit, you worked for Frito-Lay.
Yes, for about 4.5 years, PepsiCo.
Then you went to Nicaragua, where you met who I believe is your mentor, Ernesto Romas.
Arsenio Ramos.
Arsenio, I'm sorry. And you would you started blending or putting cigars together. You would take them to him and get his feedback on them.
Yes, yeah.
You had a factory.
That's correct.
And then I don't know. You came back to the States at some point here in Richardson and rebranded yourself and have been going like gangbusters since.
Yes, that's correct. And I want to thank all the listeners out there that have supported the Rojas brand and the growing of the Rojas brand, because it's been also to you guys that very supportive. It's been a great year, but I think we're barely start to walk compared to what is coming, what is really coming. And I mean, there's a saying they said, if you see it in your head, you will see it in real life. If it's possible in your mind, it's possible in the real world. And I think this is really gonna be big, like really big.
We agree.
Yeah.
We agree. I mean, after smoking them, that's why we want to talk about them. Which one do you want?
I'd pick one.
Okay. Once you start visualizing, as you said, you got to visualize what you want to achieve first. And when you see somebody who is going for their dream, you know that person's doing it. And I feel like you're doing it because you are growing big. I didn't initially realize just how many places you had gotten and gotten into. And I think a lot are still thinking of you as a boutique. So this one's pretty new. Yeah. So for those who are just listening and may not watch the video, he has given us a couple of KSG Longsdales. Now, this is the first KSG I've had.
It's actually a Lancero. No.
Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said it wrong. So we have that, and we've got a variety of some Balcones to go with. I know that you have sort of relationship with Balcones too, right?
Yes, Balcones, they're a really good friend of mine. They really love cigars, especially the person who do all the blending for them. We have been smoking cigars together and all of that. And I said, you know what? The Rojas brand is a Texas brand. And what better to go with a cigar like this that is a Texas brand than a Texas whiskey. So I decided to, kind of partner up with them. So we can, work out on what cigar go best with what whiskey, especially from Balcones.
And that's why I brought 4 of them today, because I wanted to try each of the 4 with whatever I smoked. I was originally going to smoke a Blue Bonnet till you put a KSG in my hand, and then boom, KSG day. Mm-hmm. So I want to try each of these 4, see how they go, which one pairs best with this particular cigar, because that's what we're focusing on, is the pairing of cigars and spirits. So that's why we're Cigars, Liquor, More, right? So I'm going to try all 4. We have with us today the French Oak, Balcones, single malt, pot distilled French Oak, and that's at the 120. That's cask. So that's gonna let you know. Then we got the single malt whiskey, which is at 103 proof, so also a little bit higher on that proof. A little bit newer lineage is at just under 100 proof. We just started on that one. And then we still got a little bit of the bourbon left, which is also a little above 90 proof. So I'm going to try all 4 of those.
Cool.
We'll see which one tastes the best.
Hopefully I don't get drunk at the end of the podcast.
Or the beginning.
You never know.
Now, you're smoking something a little different.
Yes, so I decided to go with the Los Tejanos, which is a collaboration between me and Edgar Hoyle from One Shot, One Kill company. And it's been very interesting. I mean, we just received these cigars literally 2 days ago. And today, 40% of the inventory is already gone.
Nice.
I got stores buying 10, 15 boxes today, and then calling next day and say, hey, you know what? This is going to fly out. Just send me 20 more. And, that's the support you get when you really put your heart onto what you're doing and you deliver a good product. They know these cigars are going to taste good. They know they're going to have a really good draw. They know there's going to be balanced and well blended, so, they take the risk and they take it big. So
nice.
The products that you've had out in the past have all met that mark. No reason why this wouldn't.
Yeah, and
no reason at all.
That at the time this airs, it'll be out just 6 days. So two at the time of recording, but it'll be out 6 days, just 6 days.
Probably we will not have any more.
Really?
At the speed that it's going.
Wow. Well, make a point. Get them as soon as you see them.
Get them early.
Because they will not come back. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. If you have the opportunity to go to a store, either ask them to bring it in, or if they had it in stock. And especially, there's something special always about the first batch, right?
Yes,
something is going to stay, something is not like a small batch cigar, it's something that's going to be a core line. There's something special always about the first batch. And that's, me particularly, every time that I have done it, I always save a couple of boxes just for my taste. Because you want to really see what is into that in a couple of years from now, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years.
I've done that. Put a couple at the bottom of my humidor, and maybe come back to it later, see what it's like in a year or two. I wish I had the ability to put boxes away like that. But, everybody's got a little bit different storage capability.
So what is in the KSG, if you don't mind saying?
Yeah, sure. So KSG, it's Well, number one, I wanted to do something different, not just better than, but different. So I decided to call it the KSU, which stands for King of the Small Gauge. But there's something special about the tobacco we use for the KSU. You know, it's not tobacco from the moon. It's not tobacco that is, you know, only certain quantity is grown every year. You know, people know that I'm honest when I talk about my tobaccos and my cigars. It's just, there's this region in Nicaragua. It's called Somoto. And for years, there has been a couple of main regions of Nicaragua where people grow tobacco, which is Jalapa, Condega, Esteli, and Ometepe. Those are the 4 main regions for tobacco growing. Recently, somebody started growing tobacco in a place called Pueblo Nuevo, and I haven't tried that one, to be honest. But there's a place going to Honduras. When you're coming from Nicaragua, from Esteli, you're going through Honduras. Instead of going up in the mountains on the border with Honduras, instead of just taking the road up in the mountain, you just keep going straight. And there is a little town called Somoto. I think the reason why not anybody has grown tobacco there before is because there was no water. The water is really limited. There is only a small river, and you have to actually ask for permit from the city to be able to use the water from the river. And unfortunately, they didn't provide permits for tobacco growers. So it's a very different soil, and that's the beautiful thing about Nicaragua. The soil from, for example, Esteli to Jalapa to Condega to Ometepe is completely different. It's so drastic, the change. And in Somoto, the soil is really sandy, different than Esteli, which is a little bit clay, and it's more reddish. It's very similar to the soil in Pinar del Rio for tobacco cultivation. So my friend, he spent probably, and he likes so much that particular soil that even before planting any tobacco, he spent about $20,000 just making holes trying to find water. Just making holes.
Right, wells.
Yes, trying to find wells. He finally found one with not too much water. I mean, there's plenty of water for the amount of tobacco he's growing, but there's not plenty of water that he can go ahead and
not lush
and plant 20,000 hectares or something like that. It's just there is enough water for what he's doing. We use the dropping system with the water, so it's not just irrigating water all over. It's just the water is controlled on the plantation by the drops system. I don't know how you call that.
Drip irrigation.
Drip irrigation.
So that's the word. And the thing is, when he first got the first plantation in Somoto, this is virgin soil. Nobody has grown tobacco here before.
Right.
You got so many nutrients on the soil that won't be there next time because some nutrients you can put it back on the soil, growing different things. But this was virgin. So on the very first plantation, I set aside about 15 bales of that first harvest that I wanted to use just for the limited editions of the Rojas line, which is the KSU. And it's a very different tobacco. It's just gonna get better with time. My limited releases on those is gonna be somewhere between 5,000 to 15,000 cigars, depending on the sizes we were making. The KSU was the first limited edition, 7.5 by 38 Lancero, and we are using that tobacco from the first harvest on that particular cigar. Nice. Now, as the year goes, it's gonna just get better and more smooth and more creamy, because that's the nature of tobacco. Like whiskey, as it ages, it's gonna get better. So that's every time you see a KSG size being released, you can know that what made that particular cigar special. It's that tobacco we set aside. So the longer, or going 5 years from now, that tobacco is gonna be about 90 years old. The tobacco we'll be using in that cigar, because the one we used on this one was already 4 years old. So it's that's the process. That's that's really what makes it special. It's not tobacco from the moon. It's just tobacco that was well grown, well harvested, fermented, and it was just the very first crop from the virgin soil.
And it's everything, filler, binder, wrapper.
Well, no, sorry, it's filler and binder, and then we have Maduro Habano wrapper from Ecuador. It's also a 5 years age wrapper. It's from Oliva Tampa Tobacco. I mean, these guys, I love Oliva Tampa Tobacco. Everything they do. I have a really good relationship with Gustavo Cura and John Olivas, the owner, which I have tremendous respect for. He has been selling tobacco for more than 100 years, so they know what they're doing. And we're able to get our hands on this really fine wrapper for use to the KSG, which again we also set aside a certain amount of tobacco, so it aged at the same speed that the filler is aging for fusion productions.
And it's a beautiful
beautiful
cigar,
wrapper.
Beautiful wrapper. It's just fabulous.
It's a dark wrap. It's very pretty, and it's going really well. I've tried 2 of these Balcones, just quick little samples, and I'll get to the 4th. You said that the Somoto Valley, the Los Tejanos was that the first blend where you discovered the valley? Because that's a blend that you did with Osok, and you partnered up to make that with a Mexican San Andreas wrapper, which has become a fan. You've become a fan of it, right?
Yes, but just to make sure we're on the same page. So the KSG is made with the tobacco from the virgin soil.
Yeah.
Now, Los Tejanos is also tobacco from Somoto, which I have found people love, really big time. It's just not tobacco from the first crop.
No, but is that when you first discovered the region, or how do you even go to this region and discover it?
Well, be honest, was not me just looking for the place to the tobacco. It's actually my friend. His name is Carlos Pereda, and he is actually related in a certain way to Alejandro Robaina back in Cuba. He's a farmer that everything he did since he was a kid was growing tobacco in San Luis, Pinar del Rio. And he knows so much about tobacco. I mean, for years, many big companies were trying to hire him to grow tobacco for them, and he didn't want it to. He refused it. He wanted to have his own thing. So he was the one that, he found the soil. He had been looking for this soil, for this land for many years in Nicaragua, and he finally found it. And everything is working so good. We're able to get that tobacco using on our cigars. And he's selling a few bells here and there to some people, but there's not, to be honest, there's not like a lot of tobacco that he could just sell out to people, because we're mostly using our stuff.
Right, you're not this region, as you said, it's dry. You have to keep looking for water. You keep moving around the region, but it sounds like it's a region all these people think have promise, and they want to keep making tobacco there because they like what they're pulling out of the ground, right?
Yes, especially this farm he has. The Carlos farm. It's very unique farm. It's because of the water problem. I mean, it's not like he can have too much plantation of tobacco there. He have to always keep it limited to what he's growing there. And that tobacco is actually everything that is coming out from Somoto. It's in most cases 50% of the filler we use for the Rojas line. He's growing Corojo. He's growing Criollo, Habanos, even a blend. It's a hybrid between broadleaf and a Habano variety. I mean, he's trying different seeds to see what is coming out from the soil. How the different seeds, different varieties develop on the soil.
Right, but you guys are kind of moving around the region, seeing what you can make. This isn't the last time we'll see the Somoto region tobacco, is it?
No. In regular basis, he's growing tobacco in Somoto. Mm-hmm. He has the farm, and every year he grows tobacco there.
Right. I just mean,
he's just.
I know it's in really limited quantities, but this isn't the last time we'll see this from you, right?
Oh no.
Yeah.
So for example, in the case of KSG, as I said, I have aside 15 bales that we're using to make the KSG limited editions. And what is going to happen is we're going to just go through all different small gauge sizes. In this case, I wanted to start with the Lancero. Next time it's gonna be a Lonsdale, and then next time after that might be a Robusto on 50 gauge, and then a Toro on 50 gauge, or we can do a 44 gauge. I mean, there's so much we can do. It's just limited editions will be a certain amount of cigars made only, and once they're gone on that particular size, they're gone. You won't be able to get it anymore.
Okay. So again, like we said, you
Get it
keep
while
on the
you
look,
can.
keep on the lookout for this stuff, because it's not going to be available forever, and the small volume, it's hard. It's difficult, right?
This is a smooth cigar.
This is a smooth cigar. I'm liking this very much.
This is really good.
If I may recommend, so far I haven't gotten to the bourbon yet, but the lineage is definitely above the first two. The French oak and the regular were good, but the lineage is definitely bringing out more of the creaminess of the cigar, and it's a little bit, the lineage comes off a little bit sweeter, and it makes the cigar a little sweeter too. So far I'm really liking that a lot. When you get off your coffee and finish that and try, I would say go straight to the lineage.
Cool. Definitely into it.
Okay.
So you're utilizing a facility in Nicaragua.
Well, I had my
that
factory
true?
in Nicaragua for about 4.5 years, and the one thing that was really difficult for me, I went there and I started from scratch. I started making the cigars out of my own house. In less than a year, we built a factory. We were making between 40 to 50,000 cigars a month, which is not a big amount of cigars. It's just less than 1 million cigars a year. But I was having big problems with finding the right people to run the factory. And the thing is, because in Nicaragua, there's one of the biggest factories in Central America and to make cigars. There is a shortage of qualified personnel to run factories, and I probably lost more than $250,000 on mistakes over 4.5 years that I was there. Of cigars with a bad draw. Everything happened when I was not there. Every time that I was trying to travel, come here to the state to sell my cigars to the stores, and get new accounts, something will happen. It got to the point where I said, you know what, I can't split myself in two. And I didn't have enough money to hire somebody that will get a salary compared to what they will get if they work for a bigger company. So I said, I'm just gonna close this. I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna go to the States. I'm gonna learn about what the consumers really want out of cigars and the retailer inside of the cigars. Because one thing is making cigars, another thing is trying to sell it. That's two completely different things. And get to the point where I sold everything, came back to the States, start rolling cigar in a particular cigar store, and you just get to know what the consumer wants, what the customers want, what they want to smoke, what they expect out of the cigar. And because for me, when I came from Cuba, I spent 4.5 years in Miami, but I was not inside of the cigar industry. So I didn't know that end. I went straight to Nicaragua and lived in Nicaragua. So for that another 5 years, I didn't really know about the market on this side of the business, which is, the retailers and the consumers. So honestly, I only learned for the last 3 years that I've been here in the States. That's what I actually learned. I always like a sponge for knowledge, asking the consumers why they will buy a certain brand, what they were looking on their cigars, what they like out of their cigars, what will pip them off if a cigar didn't deliver something. And that's kind of understanding the market on this side. And then after 2 years, I decided, I think I now get at least some idea of what consumer wants. So let's work on that angle. And that's when I rebrand everything that I had in the past, and we came out with the Rojas line. A simple message, very easy to understand, with a purpose. Small ring gauges only that deliver the bigger amount of flavor. I mean, it's simple, it's easy to remember, and we don't have to, you don't have to spend 20 minutes to explain a full line of cigars. By the time you finish, that consumer doesn't even remember what you told him. So now we keep it simple. And, you know, I never said we make the best cigars because quality is so arguable. I said we just make them different. That's the whole thing. We just make them different, and once people try it out, they will see why I said we make it different.
And you're doing a lot of smaller ring gauge, and as we talked about earlier, it's more difficult to make. Less margin of error. Tell us about what goes into making the small ring gauge. Why is it so tough?
So there is a couple of things actually that will influence that. Small ring gauge cigars are actually the most difficult cigar to make for a couple of reasons. It's also the most flavorful cigar to make. You know, for some facts that I'm going to be telling you in a bit. But mostly, making a small ring gauge cigar, especially Lanceros or whatever is under 46 gauge percent, or under 50, even under 50 gauge, it's like you can compare that like making a Rolex watch, and put aside the price of the Rolex watch. You think about the handwork that goes into build that by hand. You know, every single piece that have to be perfect working inside of that watch, compared to a regular watch per se, right? So there's more detail that goes into making a small gauge cigar because these are the different reasons why. Number one, the draw. You have to think of a cigar like a mass. You know, it's a physical mass that has a physical size and a physical weight. As you go bigger on the mass, you know, go bigger on the weight, you are giving more space and more opportunity for the air to go through one side of the cigar to the other one. You know, the wider the gauge, the easiest is to make that cigar with a good draw, because you have a wider opportunity to get the air right from one side to the other one. Now, even if the cigar is plugged on just half of the cigar, what I mean half is not half, you know, like the first half of the cigar in length. You know, I'm talking about, you know, cutting that diameter in the center. And if you think, you know, one side of the cigar is plugged, the other one is good, you can still smoke that cigar.
Right.
If it's a bigger gauge cigar. Now, as you go smaller on the gauge, you got some issues there, because, you know, you don't have too much space to play with to make sure the air goes from one side of the cigar to the other. So that's when certain techniques have to be applied to make sure that cigar complies and give you the perfect draw, which is, you know, there is a famous entubado way to, you know, roll the leaf inside of the cigar. What we use, I would say it's more like a micro entubado. So it's, you know, entubado system dope, or ×2, where they have to make these little tiny tubes of the leaf to make sure that on that small ring gauge they can pack the weight of the tobacco and still get the biggest amount of air from one side to the other one. That's one thing. The other thing is, on bigger gauge cigars, because of the mass that is burning at the same time, you got this big wide mass burning at the same time. It doesn't matter if one of the tobaccos it's not well fermented, you know, it's always gonna catch up with the fire or with the burning of the other leaves because of this big mass burning all at the same time.
Right.
Got enough heat there.
Exactly. Yeah. On a smaller gauge cigars, you can only use the best well fermented tobaccos because there is almost no mass to burn. And if that tobacco is not burning well, it's not well fermented, and it's not going to the speed of the other tobaccos, it's gonna be a mess. So you better have the best well fermented tobaccos for these cigars, including binder and wrapper, especially if you really want to have that cigar to deliver the way that it should be. I mean, it's nothing but the best tobaccos for you to that cigar. You know, everybody uses the best tobaccos in the industry. Every time you hear something, everybody uses the best tobaccos, well fermented, but when you smoke a Lancero from any, not just my cigars, from any company that you smoke a Lancero, check on the burning. If you see that cigar that it's not burning evenly, it's not, all the leaf is not going at the same speed.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right? Good example.
Yeah.
Holding it right now.
You will remember what I'm saying, because if you have one tobacco that is just staying behind a little bit, that's when it really gets, it start burning on the side, or, make it start canoeing, or, things like that. And the other thing, one of the last things is actually the weight. That mass for that particular cigar, let's say it's a Lancero 7.5 by 32 by 38. That particular Lancero have a certain weight, depending on the manufacturer. They will have different weights, but there is an average of that particular weight. If you go with the Lancero, exclusively with the Lancero, if you go 0.5 grams over the weight or under the weight, then you're really trending to have either a tight draw or a cigar that is going to be tunneling. So it's really difficult to make a good Lancero with the weight that it should have, so it's not plugged or it's not making tunnels. With bigger gauge cigars, you can go up to 2 grams over or lower the weight of the cigar, still get a good draw, and it's not really gonna bother the consumer because there's so much mass. You know what I mean? And the last thing, which is what I call the core of the Rojas line, why the small gauges? People say, well, why the small gauges? Why not big gauges? Up to 80% of the flavor actually comes from the wrapper of the cigar. Mm-hmm. You get a cigar, you have seen it. There is many brands out there that they have one blend, and then they have the blend on Connecticut, Maduro, and Habano. And as you smoke each one of them, you notice that it's completely different from the other one, even though it's the same filler and binder. But just the wrapper changed, so it changed the whole profile of the cigar. In some cases, it's up to 80% of the flavor of the cigar. So what happened is, when you find these really well-aged wrappers that have been well fermented and have a lot of flavor, like the KSG wrapper, the question is, how can I make a cigar where I can taste more flavor from the wrapper than the filler? Ratio, you use the same, this is the thing, you use the same amount of wrapper whether you're rolling a 7x70 gauge or a skinny Lancero 7x38. It's the same half tobacco leaf as a wrapper. Every cigar has 3 turns. If you check it out, they have 3 turns. So what happened is what I call the overlap, which is the amount of tobacco that rests on top of the tobacco when you turn the cigar and roll it. That overlap on the Lanceros is wider, so it's almost like a double wrapper cigar, if you want to look at it that way, versus a big fat cigar, which the overlap is not really that wide. So you get more flavor from the filler on bigger, wider cigars than from the wrapper. Vice versa, you get more flavor from the wrapper on the smaller gauge cigars than from the filler. And that's why they're so much flavorful, even way more flavorful than any cigar over 52 gauge, just because, it depends. But if you use the right wrappers with the right amount of flavors, that thing is going to just blow your mind when you smoke it, because there's so much flavor in it, right? And you're tasting. And there is one of those articles by Cigar Aficionado where they actually talk about small gauge cigars and who makes them and who came out with that small gauge cigars, and they have the story, and your listeners can go online and check it out. They said that back in the time, Fidel Castro was sorting through the different tobaccos they were using for making Cuban cigars, and he was smoking just the wrapper. And he said, oh my God, how can we get people to really get the flavor of this super tasteful wrapper we have without compromising the flavor of the filler, so they can actually taste more wrapper, which is, there's so much flavor in this. And that's when they start making these, skinny cigars, the Lanceros and the Lonsdales and all these really thin cigars, was just for the purpose of consumers actually getting more flavor from the wrapper of the cigar than the filler. The other thing is fermentation wise and price wise, for example. And this is why I want your listeners to get the attention on, why wrappers are so more high quality compared to filler. A regular fermentation process on filler goes from 6 to 8 months all the way up to 18 months. That's just the fermentation process. That's not aging. That's just fermentation, which means the tobacco is on pilones, these big piles of tobacco that are fermenting. After that, tobacco get out of the pilones, dry out, and goes to the bales for aging. With the wrapper, it's different. It can go all the way up to 5 years. I have seen pilones of tobacco 5 years on fermentation, just on fermentation. And what happens is, you have to think, when you're fermenting tobacco, you have to think like you're cooking a big fat steak, right? Or like a tomahawk, something like that. It's you want to cook it slow. You want to cook it at a really low temperature, so you can actually cook all the fat and the blood and everything, all the nutrients inside of that steak at a very slow speed, so it doesn't burn. Literally, it doesn't burn. That's why Texas is famous for the barbecue. They do it for 6-8 hours, right? So you can get that juicy steak. So what happened with tobacco is, especially with the wrapper, what we call the juice on the meat, it's the oils on the tobacco leaf.
Right.
And what happened is, during the fermentation process where the temperature goes up, the higher the temperature, the more you burn that oil. The lower the temperature, the less you burn it. So the right way to do it, and the best way to do it, it's making these pilones where the tobacco really heat up, but don't letting the temperature go too high. So every time the temperature reach, whatever, depending on the tobaccos, whether it's gonna be 40 degrees or 45, depending. It all depends on different tobaccos, whether it's Mexican or a broadleaf or Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. It all depends. But the point is, what you want to do with the wrapper is just cook it really, really slow, like the steak. You want to do it slower with low temperature, and then when it reaches there, you just turn that pilon out, cool down the leaf, make that pilon again, and do the process over and over and over and over, so you can create all these proteins and aminos, which is what at the end you taste on tobacco, on the tobacco leaf without burning the oil. So it takes up to 5 years of the fermentation for just the wrapper. And that's why 1 pound of wrapper could cost up to $55 a pound, $55 a pound for 1 pound of wrapper.
Right.
And filler goes, the max that you can get filler for, you're looking at, $12 per pound. That's the max you might be paying as a manufacturer for filler. So there's a big difference. There's a big gap between filler and wrapper. And, that's why wrapper is so flavorful. It's all the process that goes into it.
Wow.
Yep. An education all the way around.
You betcha.
I hope everybody got that.
Well, take a moment and relight.
Yeah.
You've been doing some talking.
all the talking. Let your cigar go out. That's a shame. So do you find that? So a lot of people do not like to relight. Do you find that the flavor changes when you relight, or do you go, no, it's how you relight, or what do you think of that?
I think it's mostly when you left the cigar there and you light it up next day. But but
well, definitely not that.
Yeah.
But if you just go off, because like right now, we're talking so much.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes.
And we are inside of my room for keeping the cigars. The humidity here is really high. You just go off. But you just relight it. It doesn't change that much, really. At least for my taste, it doesn't really change that much. If you leave it for the next day, well, that's another thing.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Because I've never thought it was a big deal to it just went out because I went to the bathroom and I came back, and I never thought that was a big deal. But Some people really do, and
Yeah, some
here-
people really care about that.
yeah, we have a manufacturer that says, "No, I don't think that should bother you too much." I agree with you. Thank you. So, a quick recap. I have tried all 4 now, and the bourbon was good, but the bourbon added a spicy to the bourbon that went to the cigar in a way I wasn't a fan of. So I'm definitely on board with the lineage. I thought the lineage went really best of these 4 with this cigar. I liked how it added creaminess and sweetness to the cigar. It was really good. I like that. That's my pick for these 4. FYI.
Now, I've only had the single malt and the lineage.
Okay.
I'm going with single. I like single malt.
What did single malt add that you liked?
Yeah, you thought the other one made it a little bit smoother. I thought the single malt enhanced some of the flavors.
You thought it enhanced some because I thought it made it more spicy. Maybe you like the spiciness that came out with it. Okay, I can see that. But this cigar for me, I thought the creaminess and smoothness was its a feature I love the best, and so I picked the liquor I thought it augmented the most. So I'd like to hear from the person who made it. So KSG, what is its defining features? What do you think makes this cigar? What sort of flavor notes? What kind of key punch point on the KSG would you put in?
Well, I think probably it's the raisin nuts you get from the Amazon and the peanut nuts you get from the. I'm just kidding. I read this article sometimes about people smoking
I
cigars.
think you saw the
getting-
look on my face going.
I'm like,
It's like, what is that? I don't have such
Good
such
one.
a
You
sophisticated
totally-
palate.
I mean,
I'll be honest with you, and I always tell this to my friends. I said, since I was a kid, I was always picky with my food, back in Cuba. And, everybody knows Cuba, how it is, and all the struggle that goes just because of the government and how they manage things and all of that. So I was a really poor kid.
Yeah.
That I was raised with my mom, just, ourselves, and for years. I can tell you, I probably eat meat once every 3 weeks or 4 weeks. It was mostly rice and beans and whatever we can get our hands on. So my point is, my palate didn't develop on getting all these weird notes and weird flavors that I heard sometimes. I don't even know what it is. I just know that it tastes good, it's balanced. And I can pick up some notes, like raisins and coffee bean and coffee aftertaste and spicy. On pepper notes, for example, I get the black pepper. I don't get the red pepper, white pepper, or all those peppers. I just know that it's balanced, and when it's balanced, that means a lot for me, and that's what I mostly go after when I blend a cigar. The balance is the most important thing. Whatever the notes are, whatever the flavors are, if it's unbalanced, if it's harsh in your mouth, if it doesn't go through your nose smooth and clean, that's not a good blend.
yeah, it is good. That's a good
It
note.
does.
We have not mentioned the retrohale. Have you retrohaled?
I have.
Yeah, I do.
I think I've
retrohale-
retrohaled this more than any other cigar.
Yeah, I probably, my habit is probably every third or fourth I'm retrohaling a little bit, and it's a real smooth retrohale. I don't think this is peppery at all. It's spicy, but not spicy peppery.
Yeah.
It's spicy with those flavors like you were saying. That balance, I think it's good balance. It's a really good balance. It's nice and smooth. And I think that's what maybe where I'm getting the creaminess is that it's just smooth. I like that. It's good smoke.
So I'm gonna do a little different track here.
Yeah. Changing
So
speeds.
So you rebranded. You said you came back here and you started talking with the consumers, figuring out what they wanted and things like that. Were the comments you were getting, were they different than what you were expecting? Did you not expect anything? Did you what all happened with that? I mean, were you getting? Was it a surprise? The comments.
Well, in many cases was a surprise. But I think the biggest problem that I had in the past was actually what I call a communication problem. You know, in the past I had four different brands. Sorry, that whiskey is just getting to my head. So in the past I have four different brands. One was Sabor de Esteli. Then I have Rojas Reserva. I have Guayagan. And well, the Gallo Pinto, which is just a bundled cigar. But the thing is, I had about 3 different wrappers per blend, and it just gets so confusing, right? I was making an event, for example, and I will have from mild to full body, from box press to round shape, from every single wrapper you might think about it, and then, you know, when a consumer walks in and you start explaining on an event all the different variations of the blends, or how many different blends you have and how many things you have there on the table, by the time you finish, his mind is so overwhelmed with information that he just want to get cigars to smoke. He doesn't want to force his smoke, you know. So I said, you know, I think my problem here is communication. And the thing is, when you try to be all cigars for all people, that's when you get into troubles. And that's what I said, you know, I want to focus, how can I make the most flavorful cigar simple to understand for the consumer, that is not gimmicky, that is not, you know, something that's just going to be out for a year or something like that. You know, something that is, in a certain way, is classic, it's not gimmicky, and deliver the best that I could do. And that's what I said, you know, let's just make small ring gauges. So Rojas is a small ring gauges only, under 50 gauge. So now I'm doing an event. It's just one blend, one wrapper. There's not 10 different wrappers on the same blend. So I make an event, for example. I have, you know, my right now I have 3 different products. One is the Rojas Statement, which is a Mexican San Andres wrapper. The other is the Rojas Blue Bonnet, which is 100% Corojo tobacco. And the other one that just came out is Los Tejanos, which is the collaboration between me and Edgar. I have 3 or 4 more different blends coming up. But the thing is, I keep it simple. I'm making an event now. I have the Statement, the Blue Bonnets, for example, Los Tejanos. Somebody walk in and say, okay, what makes your cigars different from everybody else? Which is almost the number one question you get.
Really?
Especially from store owners. What makes your cigars different? Back in the time when I could say, well, you know, the tobaccos we use and this and that, everybody used the same thing. You know, everybody used tobacco from the moon, and it's the high quality tobacco, etc., etc. That's not a good point to talk about the brand. You know, if they ask me, okay, what made your cigars different? It's very simple message. Small ring gauges only. And why small ring gauges? Well, because they deliver more flavor from the wrapper, which is up to 80% of the flavor of the cigar. That's simple, easy to understand.
Right.
I don't have to walk you through 20 minutes of explaining how many different blends I have and what special tobaccos I use on this. No, it's just simple. It's easy to understand. And once you smoke the cigar, you're hooked for life. And that's what the Rojas brand is all about. Also, we are setting the tone for the Rojas brand to be the brand for the cigar specialist. And what I mean cigar specialist is, I have a couple of programs that will be coming up really soon, which is something that is going to help you as a consumer to understand your palate, what you like and what you don't like. For example, you guys, you have been smoking cigar for how long?
I've been smoking for almost 20 years, but really only 15 super regular. And then maybe only heavily for 5.
Yeah, and I'm less than that in all regards.
So if I ask you right now, not cigars, but tobaccos, what is your favorite tobacco per region? It's Dominican, it's Nicaraguan. If it's Nicaraguan, from where it is?
Oh, okay.
It's Brazilian.
Yeah.
It's
I
American.
love the Sumatra. I love the Sumatra wrapper. I tend to go Sumatras, and the San Andreas has become a big fan for me. Another one as a wrapper is the Connecticut Shade. You?
San Andreas, Corojo.
Is a good one.
Yeah, those are
Good
probably
answer.
my two.
Good
favorites.
answer. Good answer. Top 5 answers on the board.
Yeah.
Now my question.
Sumatra would be after that.
Yeah.
Now my question to you guys is: have you smoked those independent tobacco just by itself?
Oh, only
Once.
once. Only once.
So a brilliant, very brilliant rep came to our home shop of Infuego, and he had 3 cigarellos that were each of the components of the cigar he was selling that day. And we smoked each of those 3, and sometimes putting 2 of them in your mouth at the same time, or all 3, to see how those each made that cigar. That was brilliant. I wish more manufacturers would do that.
The feel in your mouth, the flavor, the taste.
And if we could just do that more, we would have loved it. But
yeah.
we've only done that once, and that was probably my favorite rep showing. I think that rep did a great job.
Yeah, that was a great event because
Yeah.
you got to taste the individual flavors
pieces,
that
yes.
made up that cigar.
So just once for us. You do that all the time, right? That's your job.
Yes. So that's especially what I'm trying to target. And I think the problem is the consumers on a regular basis, they don't know what they like. They know in general sense what cigars they like, but they don't know specifically what tobaccos they love or they hate. Just because the way that people have been smoking cigars for years, you're smoking a cigar that is already blended.
Right.
So what if I give you the opportunity to teach your brain how different tobaccos from different regions of the world taste like? So you can decide what cigar you're going to like based on the blend that is being described even before purchasing.
Yes.
So that's when I came out with a program that is called the Cigar Specialist. And, the whole thing about the Rojas line is going to be this, education. So we want to help the consumer to understand tobacco, understand cigars. So when you're a more educated consumer, when you're a sophisticated consumer, I don't have to tell you how good my cigars are. You just have to smoke it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And your mind won't be overwhelmed by an $18,000 advertised on a magazine that is telling you this is a good cigar when it's actually none. We both know that there is a lot of big mass-made cigars that they sell by billions units, millions of units, that they're just regular cigars. I mean, there's nothing special about them. It's just a big name with a big budget behind them that is paying so much money to advertise and put it in the front of the consumer. And the thing is, once you have the knowledge, and this is the big thing, once you have the knowledge to distinguish between a really good cigar and an okay or just regular cigar, then nobody has to tell you how good a cigar is,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I want to make. I know my product is not for everybody. It's not for the guy who smokes 1 cigar a month. It's not for the guy who smokes 1 cigar a week, probably. I mean, I'm just going after the people
I think it is. I think it is.
But mainly, I want to go after the people that really wants to learn about cigars and tobacco because, that guy who have a passion for cigars, that's the guy that I really want to give him the tools to educate his palate so he can pick up notes on cigars that he was never able to pick up before, just for the sake of him knowing what he likes. And that's the Cigar Specialist, which is nothing more than, kind of similar to what you taste, but it's a course of different steps or different volumes. And every volume is going to have 3 different regions of Nicaragua. It's going to have cigars made with each independent region and each independent priming from that region at the same time. For example, you get the volume 1, which is going to have, for example, Jalapa, Ometepe, and Somoto, 3 different regions of Nicaragua that they're very different one from each other. And when you smoke the first, when you have that box, you open it, you're going to have, tobacco have 3 main primings, which is seco, tobacco from the bottom, help with the burning and getting it to the, a certain size of the blend. Visus on the center for flavor, and then ligeros on the top for strength. One region, we will have 3 cigars made with each independent prime. So it's going to be 3 cigars made just with seco, jalapa, 3 cigars made just with viso, jalapa, 3 cigars made just with ligero, jalapa. And that's how you're going to teach your mind how jalapa tastes like. And then you're going to know whether you're going to like that or not.
I would love that. I'm in on that.
I'm ready to sign up.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the way that you will be teaching your mind. Now, once you go to these 3 different regions, you're going to smoke 3 cigars. And so in the center of this box is going to have 4 cigars. Sorry.
I also have allergies.
3 cigars that is 6 by 46, and they're actually blended with 2 of the regions out of the 3 on the box. There's 1 cigar that is also the same blend without wrapper, so you have the opportunity to smoke just filler and binder. And then there's gonna be a little box that is gonna have 3 little like cigarillos made just with the wrapper, so you can taste the wrapper. In that way, you will be able to teach your brain how different tobaccos from different regions taste like, you know, and you will be a more educated consumer with a more sophisticated palate. That, you know, what I want is consumers to be able to smoke a particular cigar and say, you know what, I'm feeling here, you know, I'm tasting that tobacco from, for example, from Jalapa, which is so sweet. I love this cigar, right? Or if they don't like, for example, a particular region, you know, they look at the blend of a particular cigar and say, you know what, I don't like, you know, that particular region of Nicaragua or Dominican or wherever it is. So I'm not going to taste the risks of smoking it, or I'm just going to see how it blends. It's. I mean, I think for the first time, the consumer is going to have the opportunity to educate their palate, which they never had before.
I think that's an awesome idea.
That's fabulous.
And we have different volumes, so it's volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, and then as you go through the process, you get certified cigar specialists together with, you know, some videos that I'm gonna be putting out about cigars in general sense. You know, why that is. This is gonna be knowledge at a manufacturer level.
Is this going to be YouTube publications or on your website, or how are you going to do this?
All is going to be on my YouTube channel, which I'm getting out very soon. So as you go through for example, the volume 1, you will have some indications of going, you know, see video number 10 or 9 or 6, and then you go through the test, and, you know, you get certified cigar specialist level 1. But the beauty of this is at the very end of the last volume, you will have the opportunity to go to Nicaragua and work for 3 nights and 4 days from seedbed plantation. Literally, you're going to do it. Seedbed plantation, harvest, fermentation, sorting of the leaf, blending, manufacturing, packaging, everything that goes into it. So you know everything on the manufacturing side. And what I'm trying to make is this, you know, very sophisticated, educated consumer that he can teach other people about it. You know, he can teach other people, right. Because what we need to do...
Because you're one man. You need more people.
And the thing is, you know, what we want to do, it's being able to grow the industry instead of, you know, letting all these, you know, FDA's regulations and things like that kill the industry. We want to teach more people and make the pie bigger, not just sliding more in the pie, but, you know, getting more people to see how beautiful the world of cigars is.
And I, like you said, and I, again, kind of disagree. I think it is for everybody. And I think if you can spark an interest in people and get them to understand more, and, you know, just picking up a flavor wheel and thinking about it while I smoke a cigar helps me think about a cigar. And trying those individual pieces of the cigar. You have 1 cigarillo binder, 1 cigarillo filler, or 1 cigarillo, you know, wrapper. All those type of things can spark an interest in that once a week, once a month smoker, and then that person becomes an enthusiast, and they become a twice a month, twice a week smoker, and, you know, blah 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 blah, and they become more educated and more passionate about it. And you've probably noticed cigar smokers, passionate people about cigars. And I think this kind of program, this is wonderful. I'm going to sign up for this immediately. As soon as it's available, I will be there, because that is exactly the kind of thing that I would like to have more from manufacturers, from reps, from anyone who brings it to me. I'm on board immediately. I mean, I think almost anybody I know who's a passionate smoker would be.
And this is something since that first event, or since that event where we went through that, we have asked others if they could do that.
And they said, that's a good idea. And they don't do it.
They don't do it.
Enjoy the any time of the day cigar. Drunk Chicken cigars are nub-alicious. So good you'll smoke it to a nub. You can get 10% off your order at drunkchickencigars.com by using the promo code CLM2020. Interested in vacationing in Cuba? Visit GardnerTours.com. Immerse yourself in all that Cuba has to offer. Classic cars, Cuban rum, cigars, coffee, and cuisine. Choose the tour that fits your group or family the best. Gardner Tours offers a variety of options, like the Premium Cigar Tour, Classic Cuba Tour, the Havana Long Weekend, or a custom tour designed just for you. Book your tour before October 31st to lock in the 10% discount with the promo code CLM10. Visit GardnerTours.com. That's GARDNER Tours.com.
This is excellent. Yes, you got two
I'm
signing
excited.
up already.
Very cool.
Breaking news. Have you told anybody else about this?
Yes. Yeah, I have been talking about this on many different podcasts or Zoom meetings, and it's everybody's just crazy about it. Everybody wants to get in board.
Yeah.
I tell you, I was going to release only 100 boxes on the first release, and then I have just one company that said we will buy it all.
Right.
So then I go to 200 boxes, and I got another company saying, I'm going to get on 100 boxes of them. Then I increase it to 300 boxes. So right now it's just going to be 300, even though they might be sold within the first day of landing. But, the beauty of it is that that's the other thing. You don't have to do it just by yourself because it's 3 cigars, right?
Right.
And there's going to be 3 different wheels of flavor so you can take notes. So you can actually purchase a box with you and 2 other friends. Each one of you can smoke 1 cigar, and it's like a game, right? You just smoke it, compare notes, taste notes, go to the next batch, to the next priming or the next region, and just you can do it the whole thing in a day. Smoke the cigars and try to figure it out what blend was used or what regions were used to make that particular blend inside of the box, and I think it's going to be really cool because it's something that you can actually do in a group, not just yourself.
Right. I could see this being like a Tuesday thing at your local
shop.
brick and mortar, right? Yeah. And then all those guys sit around and do this. I think that would be something we should do. That's
Fabulous.
That is a fabulous idea.
Oh,
Well, this guy's down to the nub. I'm loath to put it down. I'm gonna burn my fingers.
Good draw.
all the way through. Yeah.
Nice. It's been perfect. It didn't need correction at all. This had a great draw. All the construction was perfect. So, that's the first hurdle, right? I mean, if it doesn't smoke well, then it's not a pleasant experience.
Well,
so you hit that.
Generally, he puffs on them like a freight train.
I've been trying to slow down. I do. I kill cigars so much faster than other people, and I have been working to slow down. I did well today. This has been great.
Well, next for you guys, you can try this Los Tejanos, which is my collaboration with Edgar.
Just came out.
Yes, this
Love
literally
that.
just
Love that.
landed 2 days ago.
It's a good looking. It's a good looking label too. I like that. It's got the Texas little. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it. It's beautiful. It's a good.
So, what made you choose Texas? I'm happy you're here.
Yeah.
Well, I am too. I tell you this: when I decided to leave Nicaragua and come back to the States to live here, I traveled all across the States. I went all the way from Florida to New England, Wisconsin, everywhere. I mean, I have been everywhere just selling my cigars, talking to store owners and, making that relationship with stores. And for the moment, I was thinking on going to New Jersey, which I love. more than New York. New York is a beautiful place, but I really like New Jersey. There's so many trees and people is nice, and there's so much mixture of different cultures. But it's so expensive to live there. It's
Yeah.
so expensive to live there. And then I came to Texas for the first time, and I just got in love with everything from the beginning. And there's one thing that I found here that I didn't found in other places. I mean, you could say you have the same feeling in Tennessee, Alabama, these places, which is the hospitality of the people.
It's the South then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's people is very hospitalitarian, and they will go out of their way just to help you out with whatever you need. The other thing that I really like about Texas, I mean, other than you can have your guns and whiskey and all of that. It's I found that people here, they just tell you what they think straight to your face, whether you like it or not. And that's just the way I am. Since I was a kid, I don't like to talk shit about people in the back. If I have something to say to somebody, just tell it in his face. And, if you like it or not like it, that's not my problem. I just, speak my mind. And I found that people here in Texas, they're very confident. When they tell you something, it's with the best of the interest, or the best
Best of intentions.
intentions, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And they just tell you things, right in your face. They're not politically correct, and I like that. I like that because I like when people, they just open with you, and it's a more sincere approach when you talk to people like that. I come from a very small town in Cuba. And I mean, in my town was just like that. If people know you by your name or last name, or you're the son of, and when you come from places like this, you have to be sincere and honest. You cannot be somebody that cut corners or do things because everybody knows who you are. You know what I mean? So it's just a way.
Spreads.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it's just a way that my family raises. I mean, my father and my grandfather. So it's just I feel very connected. And weirdly but interesting is that back in Cuba, I used to see all these movies about cowboys and things like that, and out of all the American music, my favorite was always country music. And I even remember that one of the stations that was, we had a radio that will pick some FM stations. I don't know if it was from here or from, I don't know where that station was coming from, but I was listening country music all the time. I just like it. I just like it the way it sounds. And I ended up here.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I honestly, I've been trying to tell people what I think of them a little less. Because
You probably should.
yeah. Well, some people.
Just to tell, I mean, this is the way that I think, right? When you, without offending anybody,
Yeah.
when you tell them the truth on their face, if they're being mean with you, or they're doing something to you that is affecting you at your business level or personal level, whatever it is, and you just decided to say, listen, why are you doing this when you know this, and this? I mean, when you speak the truth, nobody should get offended, right? Because that's the truth.
Because it's the truth, yeah.
You're not lying or talking in his back. You're just telling, I think you're doing this wrong, and you should fix that.
Yeah, that person has to be able to introspect and acknowledge, though. And if they can't do that, then they're just going to be mad at you. But if they can do a
that's
self-diagnosis,
a trait they need to work on.
Right, that's a trait they need to work on then. Yes, I agree. I agree. And I moved down here from the Midwest about 25 years ago, and I definitely like it here, probably for very similar reasons. That, and it's a growing area that's good for business and people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, Texas is so big. You have this, barbecue, which is the best in the world, and just the feeling. The people is super super hospitalarians. And they're good with everybody, and they always friendly, and they don't seem people. What I see here, that was my first thing with Texas was that people here, they don't pretend. They don't pretend. I have met so many people with a lot of money, lots of money, and they don't they don't bark about what they have or what they have done or things like that. They're just very natural people that will speak to you the same way they will speak to somebody that have the same millions they have, and that means a lot to me. People being natural and being honest and being just humble. That's something that I really admire out of somebody.
And that's one of the great things about a cigar lounge is you've got a mixture of people across the economic spectrum, and they're all sitting in the same place, chatting together. It's just a great thing.
Yeah, I think cigars do bring people together, and that's probably what I like about cigars so much, is that cigar people, they're a little bit different people, and you get more of those quality things you want to know from a person in that kind of person. So it helps
and
that you're in the cigar business and meet those people.
And you know what is the beauty about this too? And I wish you had the opportunity to also experience that. It's on the manufacturer side. It's amazing to see, no matter where you're from, the passion that people have, and join people together. Like I was in Mexico 2 days ago, and we were having dinner with some guys who work at Turan's factory, at Te Amo factory, some of the guys that run the factory and things like that. And we never met each other before, and all of a sudden we have something in common that is really strong. We get to be best friends, and that's everything we talk about. And we spent probably 4 hours having dinner and smoking cigars and drinking rum, and everything was so smooth and so friendly, and you connect with people. I got friends that are like Italian friends who grow tobacco in the middle of Peru, and it's just that connection. It's just that connection just get you involved with everybody that is on the industry. It's just the middle ground to have fun and get to make some really good friends, no matter where they are or what the culture they should have. They have. It doesn't matter. You just get together with them, and it's a beautiful thing. It's like a church. It
is. So, it is. It's a community.
And the cigar industry is just as much of a family as it is a business.
I think so.
Right?
It is.
Because you develop those relationships and you keep them no matter who works for who or who runs what, right?
Yeah, especially at the manufacturing sides. You might think people hate each other because just competition, right? But you will be surprised, the relationship that is, behind the curtains.
No, I wouldn't. I've seen it in cigars.
Yeah. People. There's a lot of charred teeth out there too, but there is a lot of people who really, really love cigars and have passion for it. And when they see somebody that have the same passion and the same input, it's like a welcome word, right? It's just open arms, and it happened with me in Nicaragua when I first came to Nicaragua. I remember that more than one big company opened, their arms and said, "Noel, whatever you need, we're here for you."
Right. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what you really want in a community, right? I don't know that it's unique to cigars, but it's nice that it's present in cigars. I'm sure there's other communities out there, but I'm part of the cigar community, so that's the one I know. And I really, that's probably why I kept moving up. As I said before, I started out casual and just continually increased it because the folks I wanted to talk to were in the cigar shops, and they were they were people I knew who smoked cigars, and for that matter, I turned all my friends into cigar smokers. I was probably the first cigar smoker in my friend group, and now I think almost all of my friends smoke cigars. Not nearly as much as we do, because we have a show. We have to smoke a lot of cigars to think about them and talk about them.
Have to?
All right, but you know what I mean. And so it's just something that I think brings friends together, and even friends I already had, brings them together even more, because when you smoke a cigar, you've got an hour of blocked out time. It's not 5-minute thing. It's an hour, and now you can have a real conversation because both of you have decided to set aside that time to smoke a cigar and be together. And I think that is one of the keys to what brings cigar people together, is that we're in such a fast-paced society that to take an hour, even an hour out, carve it out, and dedicate it to that moment in time, be present, that's unique. And that's unique now because of how crazy a life we live, right?
That's correct.
Pretty fast-paced.
Yeah.
So what does it take to take a roller who knows how to make the larger gauge cigars and turn them into a roller that knows how to make the smaller gauge cigars?
It's difficult. It's difficult for you to have an idea. When we switch production to small gauge cigars on the Rojas line, 50% of the roller quit on the factory.
Quit.
Yeah, they quit.
They said, I can't do it?
The thing is, I'm pretty sure they could do it. They just didn't want to have the hassle.
Really?
The thing is, there's a system we have for making these smaller gauge cigars. Basically, they have to wait every single cigar before putting it on the press.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a certain weight. So the big key thing here is that cigar have to be on the weight or 0.5 or 0.5 grams over or under the weight. And if it's not, they have to go back, put more tobacco on it if it's under, or take some tobacco out if it's over. So it's more a slow process to make it. They can only make about 250 cigars a day, and usually with everything that is over 50 gauge, they can make 350, 400 cigars a day. That's it. The roller, the bonchero, the one who
Now, is that
built
an
the cigar.
8-hour day, a 10-hour day? How long is your day?
That's usually 9 hours. 9 hours. So in Nicaragua, for example, they supposedly work 9 hours. Most of the time it's just 8. And then they get paid for the 7th day, which is what they call the 7th day, which is Saturday, even though they don't work on Saturday.
Okay.
But basically, they accumulate 1 hour every single day, and then the other 3 hours are just paid by the factory.
Sure.
But basically, it just got too complicated for them to keep the speed, and even though we were paying more for the cigars, because you actually pay more to make a Lancero than making a 70 gauge cigar to the roller. It's more easier to make a 70 gauge cigar, even though it needs more tobacco. So they spend a certain amount of time putting all that tobacco together. But just in the Lancero, they have to put it in a certain way, and it's just tedious. It's really tedious. That's why I started teaching rollers from scratch instead of getting old rollers to learn that, and it's paying off really well. It's paying off really well. People that are learning, they're becoming the best rollers, because once you learn how to make a Lancero, you can make any size. It doesn't matter the bigger the gauge. It's just you just get really good at it. And Lancero, as I said, is the core. Once you know how to make Lanceros, you know the core knowledge to how to make whatever cigar, because it's the most difficult cigar to make. You start from from the more difficult cigar. So it's a process. It's a process that we're getting really good at it.
I'm surprised they just flat out go, no, I'm not doing this. That's surprising. I would think that there would be, I don't know, a desire to learn something new. But maybe they're like, no, this is my wheelhouse. I'm not doing that. That sounds hard.
Well,
But you find that everywhere.
yeah, some people said that psychologically, the first way you learn to do something is always going to be the easiest way for you.
Ah, okay.
Whether you know,
makes sense.
whatever you do, whether it's riding a bike or making cigars or doing whatever thing it requires your hands to do it, it's always going to be the easier way, the first way. You learn how to do.
Yeah, it's muscle
things.
memory,
Yeah.
and that just becomes a thing for you. And then changing that muscle memory is difficult.
It's different.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially, you always go back to your old ways, right? And the thing is, there is a lot of good boncheros, the guy who rolled the cigar in Nicaragua. But there is a lot of them who actually didn't learn from the brand owner or the factory owner. They just learn by somebody who learned by somebody who learned by somebody.
Yeah.
So they have this what I call bad habits, that sometimes they don't put the ligero, which is the thicker tobacco, on the center of the cigar. When they are building the cigar, they don't accommodate the tobacco in a way that helps the burning evenly. So that's when you get all this canoeing on the cigar. That's what we call
Right.
the refill. There's so many things. They don't do the entubado micro like we do it. It's a lot of things that, when they learn actually on my ways, the ways that I do it, that's the only way they know. So it's really difficult to make a bad cigar when you only know how to make it right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's my main goal is just getting these new rollers up and going at the fastest speed possible, because we're growing so fast that it's difficult to get the production out in the time that we need to get it out. You can look.
Yeah, look at this.
Your listeners cannot see this, but
The viewers will, though.
the viewers he's smoking a Lancero, and right now you probably have 1 inch or more than 1 inch there. Yeah, more than 1
right
inch.
about.
Yeah, 1 inch that is burning completely evenly and is holding the ash tight and firm. You got a good draw, right?
Oh yes.
And to get that out of the Lancero, that's really difficult. That's really, really difficult.
You could say stacking dimes, but it's smaller
Yeah.
than a dime.
Yeah, it's really difficult. You can get that easily out of for example, Toro on 52 gauge or even a Toro on 50 gauge. But a Lancero, that's you really have to know. You really have to know what you're doing to get something like that. And that's the difference. That's what made Rojas cigars different.
Does it take about the same amount of time to make a Lancero as it takes to make a larger ring gauge?
Well, no, because they can only make 100 fewer than the larger, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
Right. So it takes a
Lot.
third more time.
A lot more involved.
Yeah. And I get that. You don't see a lot of Lanceros or the smaller ring gauges. It's not as common, and so this is going to be a more common as you grow, and maybe people start to appreciate them as they get more of them in their hands, because it's just not as easy. So you don't see them as often in the shops, and maybe with any luck, you can create a resurgence in these small gauge cigars.
Well,
This is one thing that I noticed that consumers haven't think about it or haven't experimented. So I did something in the past just at a small level. It was called the Roja Challenge. And what the Roja Challenge is, it's, I sent some free cigars out there and I asked people to smoke that cigar against any cigar over 52 gauge. Just at the same time, right? And compare what notes, flavors, which one of them have more intensity of flavor, time to smoke it, etc. Well, we sent out 100 packages, and 80% of the people, which is 80 people, they did the Roja Challenge public, and the other ones did it, like they just posted. But 80% actually did it public, where there was, a live video or a big, large document with notes that they got and all of that. But the thing is, out of all these guys, there was no one that would said that they get more flavor out of the bigger gauge cigar than the smaller gauge cigars. And 100% of them were actually amused and astonished that they could get that much flavor out of a small ring gauge cigar versus a big gauge cigar, but they could only notice by doing the Rojas challenge. Because you smoke this cigar now, and you might have an idea how much flavorful is, but then you smoke a 52 gauge, and you know how much flavor is in that, but there's no way to comparison because you already smoked that one, right? Mm-hmm. So they were doing it at the same time, smoking one and smoking the other one, smoking one and smoking the other one, and that's what they were mind blown about how much flavor they will get out of the smaller gauge cigars, even more flavor than the regular 52 or 56 or whatever they pick that they were smoking. So it was something for them that was really mind-opening per se.
All right.
So they could understand now, why. And we will do that in the future with a bigger group and just, getting all the pieces together so we can actually make the best out of it, post it so regular consumers can actually see it. And it's because this one was just in a private group. It's called the Leaf Mob. And I want to do it more public where people can actually see the results. And, they for once learn that smaller ring gauges deliver more flavor than any big ring gauge cigar.
So this kind of goes back to your statement earlier. It said you came and you said, I got to find out what people are looking for. And so what people told you was they want more flavors out of their cigar, right? That's what put you on this path.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, how can I make the most flavorful cigar in the world where that's small ring gauges? Also, you need to make sure you're using the best wrappers and the most flavorful wrapper, not the best. Let's say the most flavorful wrappers and the best well-fermented tobaccos. The other thing that also helps delivering this much flavor, it's the filler. Now, there's many categories on the filler. But mainly, you have three different primes on the tobacco plant. You have the seco, you have the viso, and the ligeros. The flavor is on the visos, which is in the center of the plant, and the strength on the ligeros. That's what I call the meat. That's what I call the real meat.
Yeah.
And that's what I use on those cigars. It's visos and ligeros. The secos has some flavor, but they're mostly used, number one, for flavor cigars, because they don't have too much flavor. Actually, that's the best tobacco to infuse flavor, like flavor cigars. You guys know out there. And it's also used, for example, once you make a blend, you pick one ligero or two ligeros and one viso for the flavor, whatever you want to do. That's too small. You want to go up to the gauge that you actually want to reach. Then in a regular practice, people will just add more seco, which is tobacco from the bottom of the plant, just to get to that gauge and don't change the blend. So seco is just per se, what it is in a certain way is what I call the lettuce, the tomato, and the cheese on a burrito. It's not specifically the meat that you're putting inside. It's just something that's going to add on to get to a certain size. And we use mostly visos and ligeros, which is what I call the meat. That's why you have so much flavor out of that.
Well, you had mentioned before, though, that, you have to pay up for a wrapper. Wrapper's more expensive. It's, from what you said, about 4 times more costly. But at the end of the day, your cigars are not much more expensive than any other cigar sitting on the shelf. A lot of times, the Lanceros are more expensive, but these aren't terribly expensive cigars. These are reasonably priced. They're in a wheelhouse. So you manage that issue very well because you've got a reasonably priced cigar with a more expensive piece of tobacco mostly wrapping it, right? So you found a sweet spot, and we like it a lot.
Yeah, I don't think consumers should pay, some crazy amount of money that some brands actually ask for cigars. But, we go back to branding. what is branding. It's depending on what particular consumer you're trying to target. I mean, some people smoke cigars because, and that's what I go back to. My cigars are not for everybody, because some people, they just want to show up as social status. They smoke Davidoff.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it all depends. It's certain cigars are just priced for certain people, and I am not going through placing my cigars on a certain category based on the consumer that is going to be buying it. In terms of pricing, I just want to have the most possible consumers to try my cigar within a range between $6.25 to $12 per stick that actually want to learn about cigars.
That's the sweet spot, and being there is perfect. And you keep saying it's not for everybody, but the more you say that, I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take some of them. I'm going to send these to my friends because I think they're for everybody. I do. I think they're for everybody. They're in a sweet spot of flavor, and the construction's perfect. I'm going to send these to my friends. That's what I'm going to do. You convinced me.
Now, any
I
thoughts
need
on Los
to broaden
Tejanos?
it.
Any thoughts on Los Tejanos, the one you're smoking right now?
It's a little bit more flavor packed than the KSG. The ash is whiter. The wrapper is just as beautiful. Overall, I tend to like the KSG more. But they're both fabulous cigars.
What makes the KSG
This one's a bit.
the I don't know what you want to call it, the better for your palate?
I don't know. I think it's more where I'm at right now for today.
Yeah, I mean that's
got the KSG, smoked it, and it was just smooth and fabulous all the way through. This one I wouldn't necessarily say is smooth, or maybe creamy is the right word.
Right.
The KSG was more creamy. This one's not as creamy. It's a little more full, a little more on the full side. It's probably really a medium, but it's fuller to me than the KSG. And just the way I feel right now, I preferred the
You
KSG.
preferred the KSG?
Yeah, a little more creamy. I'm not saying I don't mean to say anything bad about it, because this is a great cigar, and you need to try one. But the KSG compared to this, I prefer the KSG.
That one is in full production and readily available now, right?
Which one?
The KSG.
No, so the KSG, it's going to be only limited editions. And the first limited edition was only 5,000 cigars. And they're already sold out.
Oh, they're already spoken for?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're already sold out. We sold those cigars without investing one single dime on advertising in 2 weeks.
So
3 weeks.
Where are they?
En Fuego bought them.
Okay.
Most of the stores in Dallas and Fort Worth got them. Underground Cigars.
Underground is a really great place for the boutique cigars, especially.
Yes, he actually was the one who bought the last boxes.
Right, they're in Fort Worth.
Yes.
Okay.
He bought the last 50 boxes or so. And I don't know who has it right now, because I don't keep track of it, but we sold out in 3 weeks. Without spending one single dollar on advertising.
Oof.
We just sent some samples out.
They're hard to find then.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great smoke, so I can see why it might be hard to find.
If you find them, get them.
I think I'm going to make an order from Underground soon. I mean, it is. So we have reviewed a lot of boutique cigars in the last year. That's kind of been our wheelhouse. And that's been very eye-opening. It's been great. I really loved it because boutique cigars... I'm trying to think. I don't remember who said it, unfortunately. But I remember listening to an IPCPR interview of 2 guys. And one of them said something that hit home with me. He said, manufacturers are often trying to make a cigar everyone loves, or everyone likes. But if you make a cigar that everyone likes, you'll never make a cigar that anyone loves. And I think that's where the boutiques really specialize, is they make a cigar that maybe not everybody likes, but a lot of people love. And I think we're all looking for a cigar we love. I mean, it's not that hard to find a cigar you like. I've said before, this is, I think, the real heyday of cigars. A lot of people called it the 90s when it exploded with Cigar Aficionado, but I don't think that was the heyday of cigars. I think right now is the heyday of cigars. Mm-hmm. And I think it comes up through the boutiques teaching the big manufacturers where you need to go. So it's not a coincidence we've gone through and rated and talked about a lot of boutique cigars. And my hope is more of these boutique cigars become the large manufacturers, because I'd like to see success happen in these cigars that bring a unique flavor and something new to the table, right? Mm-hmm. I think we've both been on book with that.
Definitely.
And we've really enjoyed going through these boutiques. And, for anybody who wants to find them, Underground is a good place to find them. They specialize in boutiques.
Yep.
I've not really talked about Underground a lot, but Underground in Fort Worth, they mail nationwide. And it sounds like you probably need to call them right away if you want to get your hands on some of these KSGs, which I recommend. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go pick some up. This is the first one I had, and it landed with me pretty good. I like that one.
I think in general sense, today's world or today's community of every product or service people are consuming, it's going away from mass-made products, from fruit to beer to whiskey to whatever.
Exactly.
People want more something that is special.
Want something unique.
Something
Look
unique.
At Etsy. Etsy is not about mass production, right? It's about handmade, handcrafted stuff you're not going to find at Walmart, right? You want something special and unique that was made by a person who cared.
Exactly.
And I think the boutiques, again, they're the Etsys of the cigar world. If you're going to go, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of general cigars I like. There's a lot of good stuff at Walmart. You don't have to hate Walmart. Walmart's a good place. But if you want something unique that's different, you have to go looking at eBay and Etsy. It's not at Walmart. And we've been making the rounds through the boutiques, and once we started smoking your cigars at Enfuego, we was like, we got to talk to him. And he's 10 miles from us. We got to go there. I love everything that you're doing here. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And I can't wait. I can't wait for the individual leaf tastings.
Oh, yeah.
Educate me. Educate me.
Yeah, and I think as you educate more people, you will get more people interested in being cigar aficionados, and not that casual. Oh, I have one a month. I have one a year. Oh, I had one at a wedding. Right? It's great to have one at a wedding. That's fine. Have one at the birth of a child. But, it doesn't have to be that rare. It should be a common occurrence for you to sit down and relax and kick back, literally feet up. And I honestly think it might be easy to go grab, something that is regularly known. You got the Monte Cristos, you got your Romeo and Julietas, something really mild, something really easy. But if you do want something unique with flavor that brings out interesting profiles, I've been picking up more boutique cigars. And you can go back and listen to a dozen other of our podcasts that are boutiques. And, it might be why we grow a little slower than other cigar podcasts, because people are Googling the big names They want to see you rate a Davidoff. They want you to, right? But this is where the groundswell happens, is at the boutiques when somebody makes something interesting. I'm going to step off my soapbox. That was a lot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was a lot. That was a really long, continuous soapbox there.
We're glad you're in Texas. We're glad you're doing what you're doing. I don't know. It's just your cigars, king of the small gauges.
King of the small gauge.
And
hashtag king of the small gauge.
Packed full of flavor. Hashtag. It's a pound sign.
Yeah, but pound me too sounds bad.
It does. I don't know. You just put a lot of flavor in a small ring gauge.
We appreciate
and it just great construction. You just can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I tell you this, a lot of people in the industry talk about passion, right? But I think passion can take you so far. I don't think I just have passion for it. I think I found my purpose on the cigar industry, especially educating consumers and teaching them, number one, small gauge cigars a little more flavor than big gauge cigars. And I don't know, in a certain way, I feel that responsibility of putting out something that it's not disrespectful to the consumer when he spend X amount of dollars buying that cigar and get a bad cigar. You know what I mean? So in a certain way, you just want to make sure that we fulfill my purpose in life. What I feel like my purpose in life is, making out this great cigar for you guys out there, and you here to smoke it, and make sure that you can get the best out of your money.
Well, and you're also showing respect to those that came before you in doing the teaching and making a great product. Shows that their effort in you was well worth it.
Definitely.
Because we all got to give a hat off to those that came before us.
Exactly.
All right.
I
think we're going to wrap
we
things
had
up.
an awesome day. This has been wonderful.
No, thanks for having
Appreciate
us.
your
It's
hospitality.
my pleasure that you guys come here and we get to smoke some really good sticks.
Very much
Definitely. Definitely. All right. See us next time. We're going to be coming back weekend and week after. And we love doing what we do. So we'll see if we can pair up. I'm going to keep smoking more to see if I can find an even better liquor match. But now that lineage was pretty good. I think you like it.
Yeah, I want to do some rums.
Of course. I know. He's a big rum fan. We all know that. You've heard that.
Yeah. Rojas, have some, buy some. You will enjoy them.
Yep. In fact, I recommend going to Underground because they are
And
very well known
find
for
that-
boutiques.
Find that KSG.
Find that KSG. Definitely.
And if you want to try it out and you can find it in your local store, you can always, your listeners can always reach out to me and say, hey, Noel, how can we get your cigars on my regular store?
There you go. Find him on his website.
Yeah. And believe me, there's many ways we can get into the stores so you can enjoy your favorite cigars at your favorite lounge. But the only one way, the best way, it's actually when consumer walk in and said, if you have that cigar
Yes.
here, I'm going to add it to my regular rotation of cigars. And I will make whatever possible to help you out. Spread the love for the Rojas brand with your friends, so all of you at the same time can go and say, hey man, we need to bring this cigar in so we can smoke it here. Everybody's enjoying it. I hate to spend my money in other states. Let me just support my local business.
Yes.
And let me just, smoke this cigar here at your store. Once the store owner hears things like that, he bring it in immediately.
So tell everybody how they best find you. Your website, your Instagram, your everything.
Yeah, we have a website that's probably gonna be up and running very soon. In the meantime, Facebook, Instagram, use Rojas Cigars, even Twitter, Rojas Cigars. You can find me there.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thanks to you guys.
Thank you very much.